Hello, my dear friends. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. So, you are very welcome in a lecture number 1 of surface areas and volumes. Okay, this chapter is very important, my dear friends. So, you have to listen very carefully, and this lecture is going to be very amazing. Okay, I hope you will enjoy this lecture. So, let's start without wasting the time. Yes, so here today we are going to discuss introduction of surface areas and volumes. Okay, we are going to discuss here what is surface areas and what is volumes. Okay, so now my dear friends, here is in this lecture we are going to be discuss a lot of figures. Okay, so in surface areas and volumes we are going to be discuss the figures, and we are going to find the surface area and volume of the different figures of the different figures. Okay, so in geometry there are different types of shapes and sizes such as spheres, cube, cuboid, cone, cylinder, etc. And each shape has its surface area as well as volume. Okay, but in the case of, let's suppose let's see here is, first of all let's see the types of figures. Okay, so there are two types of figures. Okay, there are two types of figures. Okay, so what are these? So here is, first is 2D figures. 2D figures, or we can say, or two-dimensional figures, or we can say two-dimensional figure. Okay, and the second one is 3D or three-dimensional figure. Three-dimensional figures. Okay, so in geometry there are main two types of figures: 2D figures and 3D figures. Okay, I hope you get this point. Now let's see one by one. Here is, first of all we are going to see 2D shapes or 2D figures, we can say, or 2D figures. Okay, now in geometry we know that there are 2D shapes and there are 3D shapes also. Okay, and there are different types of object and figures. Okay, now these shapes and these figures have their own properties and pattern, have their different patterns, have their different properties. Okay, depending on many factors such as angles, side, length, height, width, areas, volumes, etc. The shapes can vary. So these 2D and 3D shapes have been, okay, we have already taught in our primary classes. Okay, so now let's see here is, in mathematics 2D shapes can be defined as the plane figures. 2D shapes can be defined as the what? Plane figures. Okay, that can be drawn on a flat or plane surface or a piece of paper. Okay, so it is a very simple definition of 2D figures. Like you can see here is rectangle, circle, square, triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon. So these shapes are what? These shapes are 2D shapes because they are what? They are plane figures. They are plane figures. Okay, that can be drawn on a flat surface, or we can draw on a piece of paper. I hope you understand these things, my dear friends. So these are the basic figures of the 2D shapes. Okay, now here is, okay, so apart from circle, all the figures are what? All the figures are polygons. What is polygons? Okay, and in polygons, what is polygons? It is a flat shape with at least three sides. 3 sides, and it can be more than 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so usually 4 and usually 4 or more angles and straight sides are there. Okay, so this is what this is polygon. Now here is, now a polygon which has all sides and all sides and angles are equal, are what, are equal, then that polygon is called a regular polygon. Is called a regular polygon. Okay, got it, my dear friends? I hope you understand these things. So if a polygon has all sides and all angles are equal, then we can say that that type of polygons is what, regular polygons. Like square, okay, like pentagon, hexagon, like this. Now my dear friends, here is, now in two-dimensional figures, in two-dimensional figures, there is just only two dimensions. There is just only two dimensions, like length and breadth. There is only two dimension, like length and breadth. Okay, I hope you got this point. So this is what these types of figures are called, two-dimensional figures. Okay, yeah. So now here is, now in three-dimensional figures, let's talk about the 3D figures. Okay, in geometry, three-dimensional shapes or 3D shapes, we can say this is also called three-dimensional shapes or 3D shapes, are solids that have three dimensions. In this, there is having three dimensions like length, breadth and height. Okay, whereas in two-dimensional figures, there is have only two dimensions like length and width or breadth. Whereas 2D shapes have what, have only two dimensions, that is length and width, or we can say sometimes it is also called breadth. Okay, now you can see here is, these all the figures are what, 3D figures, like spheres, cube, cuboid, cylinder, hexagonal prism, cone, square base pyramid, triangular base pyramid. Okay, triangular prism. So all these figures are what, are 3D figures or 3D shapes. Okay, I hope you get this point, my dear friends. Yes, so now let's see the difference between 2D shapes and 3D shapes. Okay, you can see here is 2D shapes and here is 3D shape. So the first difference is that it is a shape surrounded by three or more straight lines in a plane, and sometimes within a closed figure or within a closed curve. Okay, and if a shape is surrounded by a number of surfaces or planes, it is surrounded by the number of planes, here is planes, okay, and here is the straight lines, then it is a 3D shape, shapes or figures. These shapes have no depth or height, it means there is only two dimensions, length and breadth or width. Okay, and there are also called solid shapes, and unlike 2D, they have height or depth. Okay, they have three dimensions like length, breadth and height, and what, and height or depth. Okay, these shapes have only two dimensions, say length and breadth, whereas curved shapes such as circles and ellipses have radii. Okay, and these are shapes containing three dimensions such as depth or height, breadth, okay, breadth and length, and length. Okay, now the next difference is area, perimeter can be found for these shapes, and here is we can calculate their volume. CSA means curved surface area, LSA means lateral surface area, or TSA means total surface area. We will discuss later. Okay, so in the 2D shapes we can find area and perimeter, but we cannot find volume. But in 3D shapes we can find volumes and surface areas. Okay, and the examples are circles, triangles, quadrilateral, polygons, etc. And here is the examples are cube, cuboid, spheres, and cylinder, cone, etc. Okay, I hope you get this point, my dear friend. Yes, so now let's move on. Okay, now let's see types of 3D shapes. The 3D shapes consist of both curved shapes, solids, and straight sided polygons, which is called polyhedron. Okay, so now here is there are two types of 3D shapes. Okay, first is what? Curved solids. Curved solids. Okay, now what is curved solid? So the 3D shapes that have curved surface, the 3D shape that have curved surfaces are called curved solids. Okay, we can write that the 3D shapes that have curved surfaces, okay, that have curved surfaces, okay, are called curved solid, are called curved solids. Okay, for example, here is, if we talk about, there is a sphere, cone, and cylinder. Okay, now this second one is polyhedrons. What is? Yes, polyhedrons. Now what is polyhedrons? So polyhedrons are 3D shapes. Okay, so polyhedrons are what? Are straight sided solids. So polyhedrons are straight, are what? Are straight sided solid. Okay, polyhedron should have straight edges, it should have flat sides, are called the faces. Okay, it must have the corners, which are called vertices. Like polygons in two-dimensional shapes, polyhedrons are classified into regular and irregular polyhedrons. Okay, so most common examples of polyhedrons are, here is cube, cuboid, pyramid, etc. So these are the examples of polyhedrons. I hope, my dear friend, you understand these things. Yes, so now let's move on. Now let's talk about the surface area. Okay, now what is surface area? The space occupied by two-dimensional flat surface. The space occupied by a two-dimensional flat surface is called the area. It's called what? It's called the area. It is measured in square units. The area occupied by three-dimensional object by its outer surface is called the surface area. It's called what? It's called the surface area. I hope you understand these things. Now what is? Yeah, so here we can say that area occupied by a three-dimensional objects, 3D objects, three-dimensional objects, okay, by its outer surface, by its outer surface is called surface area, surface area, okay. It is also measured in square units, okay. So the area occupied by a three-dimensional object by its outer surface is called surface area. And what is area? We already know that the space occupied by 2D figure, the space occupied by 2D flat surface is called the area. I hope, my dear friend, you understand these things. Now the important thing is that area, okay, is measured, area is measured only in two-dimensional figures, 2D figures. Area is always measured in only in two-dimensional figures like squares, rectangles, etc. Now, and surface area is measured only in 3D figures, only in 3D figures, okay. I hope you get this point, like cube, cuboid, etc. Okay, so this is what, so this is the difference, area and surface area. There is a difference between area and surface area. Area is just only measured in 2D figures and surface area is measured in 3D figures, okay. Generally, surface area can be divided of two types. Surface area can be divided, can be of two types, okay. What are these? So first is total surface area. What is total surface area, or we can say TSA. Most of the time we are using TSA, okay. What is TSA? Total surface area. And the second one is curved surface area, curved surface area, or we can say CSA. The other name of this is lateral surface area. What is lateral surface area, or we can say LSA, okay. So TSA what? Total surface area. CSA what? Curved surface area. LSA what? Lateral surface area. CSA or LSA, both are the same things, okay. Yeah, so now let's see. Here is total surface area. Total surface area refers to the area including the base and the curved part, including the base and the curved part. It is the total of the area covered by the surface of the object, covered by the surface of the object. If the shape has a curved surface and base, then the total area will be the sum of the two areas. Then the total area is what? Sum of the two areas. Like, let's suppose we have a cylinder like this. In this, here you can see, if we want to find the total surface area, then we have to add these curved surface area and base surface area and base area, okay. We have to add the top and bottom area and the curved surface area, okay. I hope you get this point. And here is, in this, let's suppose we have a cube, okay. We have a cube like this. So in this cube, the total surface area is what? The total surface area is the lateral surface area and the base area and top area, top and bottom area plus lateral surface area. Lateral surface area means like the area of these walls, like walls, okay, plus top area plus bottom area. This is what this will become the total surface area. What is? Yes, total surface area. Now let's talk about the curved surface area. So curved surface area refers to the area of only the curved part of the shape, only the curved part of the shape, excluding its base, excluding its base. Okay, it is also referred as lateral surface area. We can say that it is also called lateral surface area. Okay, I hope you get this point. Now let's suppose again same we have a cylinder like this. Okay, now curved surface area is what? In curved surface area it is including the curved part, just only including the curved part. Okay, here we are excluding the base, here we are excluding the base, means we are not considering the top and bottom. Okay, I hope you get this point, my dear friends. So this is the curved surface area or lateral surface area. Now let's talk about the volume. Okay, now what is volume? Here you can see. So now, my dear friend, the amount of space measure which is object or substance occupies is called volume. The amount of space, here we can write the amount of space that an object or we can say or substance occupies is called volume. Okay, now two-dimensional figures doesn't have volume but has area only. For example, volume of circle cannot be found. Okay, volume of circle cannot be found. Okay, now we can say that volume of a sphere can be. Okay, so it is so because a sphere is a three-dimensional figure. A sphere is a three-dimensional figure. So now, my dear friends, I hope you understand these points. Okay, so this is the surface area and the volume. I hope you get the point. I hope you get the idea what is surface area and what is volume. Okay, so now this is enough for today, and we will meet in the next lecture with the next amazing topic. Okay, so thank you very much for listening me, and take care and goodbye.